It started like any other evening in suburban Illinois, a quiet neighborhood where porch lights glowed against the fading sunset and families settled into their nightly routines. But on one street, inside a modest two-story home, a FaceTime call was about to shatter the illusion of peace. The call came in at 9:47 p.m. A teenage girl, Kayla Thompson, was lounging in her bedroom, scrolling through her phone. She wasn't expecting anyone, but the name that popped up on her screen froze her in place. Unknown caller, FaceTime request. Normally, she would have ignored it. Everyone knew not to answer blocked numbers, especially on video. But curiosity, mixed with teenage recklessness, got the better of her. She tapped accept. The screen flickered for a moment before the image came into focus. At first, it was just a dark, grainy room. A shadow moved in the background, then leaned into the light. Kayla's stomach dropped. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't one of her friends messing around. It was a man. His face was partially covered by a black mask, but his eyes, cold and unblinking, were unmistakable. "Kayla," he whispered, his voice low, almost taunting. Her heart slammed in her chest. "Who are you?" she stammered, gripping her phone tighter. The man tilted the camera slightly, and for a split second, Kayla thought she saw something horrifying. Behind him, in the blurred background, was what looked like another person, bound, struggling, and gagged. The muffled cries were faint but real. "Don't hang up," the masked man said, his tone calm yet menacing. "If you do, you'll regret it." Kayla's instincts screamed to end the call, to throw the phone away and run downstairs to her parents. But fear locked her in place. Every second felt like an hour as the stranger leaned closer to the camera. "This isn't a random call," he continued. "I chose you, and tonight you're going to watch." Kayla's hands trembled. She wanted to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. The man adjusted the camera again, and this time the image sharpened. The figure in the background came into clear view. It was a young woman, maybe in her 20s, her eyes wide with terror, ropes digging into her wrists as she thrashed in vain. Kayla gasped, clapping a hand over her mouth. This wasn't just a threat. This was real. The masked man chuckled softly. "Now pay attention, because once I start, there's no going back. And remember, Kayla, you're the only one who can see this. No one else will believe you." The call wasn't just horrifying. It was a death sentence being broadcast live, directly into her bedroom. And Kayla realized too late that she had stepped into a nightmare no one would ever forget. It was supposed to be an ordinary Thursday night. Friends hanging out, a quick call before bed. Nothing out of the ordinary. But that night, technology turned from a lifeline into a window of horror. On the screen, laughter quickly turned into confusion. A friend watching through FaceTime noticed something in the background. Movement that didn't belong. At first, it seemed like a shadow, maybe poor lighting. But within seconds, it became clear. Someone else was in the room. The victim, unaware of the looming danger, kept chatting casually, tilting the phone in just the wrong direction. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind them, half hidden in the darkness. The person on the other end of the call froze, their voice catching in their throat. "Who's that behind you?" they asked, their tone shifting from lighthearted to uneasy. Before the victim could even turn around, the figure lunged. The screen shook violently, screams pierced through the audio, and the phone clattered to the ground. All the caller could see now was a tilted view of the floor, illuminated by the faint glow of the phone's light. For several agonizing minutes, the call continued, silent except for muffled noises, heavy breathing, and then nothing. The person watching live could do nothing but stare at the frozen screen, knowing they were witnessing something no one was meant to see. Panicked, they dialed 911. Their voice trembled as they tried to explain. "I think my friend is being attacked. I saw it happen on FaceTime. Please, send someone now." Police rushed to the scene, but by the time they arrived, it was too late. What began as a harmless video call had become the only eyewitness account of a brutal crime. The FaceTime call would later become the central piece of evidence. Proof that the murder wasn't just premeditated, but brazen enough to unfold live, in front of someone hundreds of miles away. But here's the chilling twist. The killer seemed to know the call was happening. They looked directly into the camera before it all went dark. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. When officers arrived at the scene, the silence was deafening. The door was unlocked, the lights flickering, and the victim's phone still lay on the floor. Its FaceTime call disconnected only minutes earlier. To the responding officers, it was clear they had entered not just a crime scene, but a mystery captured in real time. Detectives immediately seized the device, knowing the FaceTime footage could hold the answers. What they didn't expect was how chilling it would be to replay. Every sound, every shadow, and most hauntingly, the split second where the killer's face turned toward the camera. For investigators, it wasn't just evidence. It was a message. The caller, still in shock, gave their account to police. They described the sudden shift from laughter to terror, the figure looming in the background, and the moment the phone dropped. Their testimony matched perfectly with the footage, proof that what they witnessed wasn't some internet glitch, but a brutal attack happening live. But there was a complication. The killer's face wasn't fully visible. The grainy quality of the video made it hard to identify them with certainty. Detectives slowed the footage frame by frame, trying to catch a clearer look. They noticed something else, something the casual eye might miss. A reflection. In the corner of the victim's mirror, a distorted but telling image of the intruder appeared. The evidence began to pile up. Forensics found footprints near the back door, suggesting the killer entered through an unlocked entrance. Fingerprints on a discarded glass in the kitchen hinted that the intruder had been inside the house longer than anyone thought, watching, waiting. The investigation turned the victim's home into a puzzle. Every detail was a potential clue, but the most disturbing discovery came when detectives accessed the victim's messages. Just hours before the attack, the victim had received a series of cryptic texts. "Don't ignore me. You'll pay for this. See you soon." At first glance, they looked like the angry ramblings of someone rejected or obsessed. But combined with the FaceTime call, they suggested something far darker, a calculated plan to strike when the victim least expected it. Police now had two urgent questions. Who sent those texts? Was the FaceTime attack spontaneous or staged for someone to witness? The chilling possibility emerged. The killer wanted to be seen. The hours following the FaceTime murder were a whirlwind of speculation, fear, and mounting pressure. The media stormed the streets, covering every angle, while police urged the public to remain calm. But behind closed doors, investigators were closer than ever to uncovering the mask behind the screen. The FaceTime video, though disturbing, became their biggest lead. With advanced digital forensics, analysts worked frame by frame, studying reflections in mirrors, the way shadows shifted, and even the faint sounds in the background. What they discovered would change the direction of the case entirely. In one frame, an object reflected faintly in the suspect's glasses. A street sign. It wasn't clear, but it was enough. Investigators cross-referenced neighborhoods, lighting patterns, and even power outages that occurred that night. Slowly, the puzzle began to take shape. Meanwhile, the victim's family revealed more chilling details. The caller wasn't just a stranger. It was someone who had been circling their lives for months. An online friend who seemed too invested, too present, and far too controlling. The FaceTime call was not random. It was premeditated. Police began tracing the suspect's digital footprint. Every search query, deleted photo, and disguised account left a trail. What they uncovered was a diary of obsession, weeks of planning, notes about the victim's routines, and even practice recordings of FaceTime calls where the suspect rehearsed what to say. But the investigation wasn't only about the suspect. It was about motive. Why FaceTime? Why such a theatrical display of violence? Detectives theorized that the killer wanted an audience to turn murder into a performance. And if that theory was true, it meant one chilling thing. The killer wasn't done. Tensions escalated as detectives realized that the suspect's obsession extended to others connected to the victim. Friends received strange calls, messages from fake numbers, and warnings like, "You'll see it too." The community lived in fear of another FaceTime call turning deadly. Then came the breakthrough, an anonymous tip. A neighbor reported seeing someone lurking near the victim's home days before the murder, holding up their phone as if filming. The description matched the suspect police had been circling in the digital investigation. Armed with a name, location, and digital evidence, investigators prepared to unmask the killer. But as they closed in, they uncovered something even darker. The suspect wasn't working alone. There were messages exchanged, discussions about perfect timing, and plans that hinted at a twisted pact. What was supposed to be a single act of obsession suddenly looked like a coordinated game of terror. And with multiple players involved, the danger to the community was far from over. The trial of Daniel Harper was more than just a criminal proceeding. It became a haunting reminder of how technology, trust, and obsession collided to create a nightmare. Prosecutors leaned heavily on the FaceTime call, branding it the final act of control that Daniel wielded over Emily. It wasn't just a murder, it was a performance, a twisted need to be seen, even in his darkest moment. The jury sat frozen as they replayed clips from the FaceTime session, their faces reflecting both horror and disbelief. Emily's mother, clutching a cross in her hands, could barely watch. Her daughter's final moments, forever trapped in a digital recording, had become the most chilling piece of evidence. When the guilty verdict was read, the courtroom was silent. Daniel showed no emotion, his eyes cold, as though he was still trapped in the delusion that the story was about him, not Emily. For her family, justice had come, but peace remained elusive. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, labeling the case the FaceTime murder. News outlets dissected every detail, the obsession, the surveillance, the moment of rage captured on screen. Social media exploded with commentary, many users expressing how terrifying it was that a device meant to connect people became a window into death itself. But perhaps the most haunting part of Emily's story was the unanswered question. Could it have been stopped? Her friends admitted they noticed red flags, controlling behavior, constant monitoring, emotional manipulation, but never thought it would escalate to murder. Police confirmed that Emily had considered filing a restraining order but never got the chance. Today, Emily's family has turned their grief into advocacy. They work with organizations that raise awareness about digital abuse and tech-enabled stalking. Her mother often says, Emily's voice may have been silenced, but her story will save lives. The phrase FaceTime to death still lingers in headlines, podcasts, and late-night discussions. It remains a chilling reminder that evil can wear the face of someone you once loved, and technology can capture not just memories, but nightmares. For those who watched that case unfold, the story of Emily Carter is impossible to forget. Her final call wasn't just a moment of terror, it became a warning that sometimes the people closest to us can be the most dangerous, and sometimes the screen in your hand can reveal more than you ever wanted to see. And so, the story ends where it began, with a phone ringing, a call answered, and a truth so chilling it will haunt forever. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell.